First of all, big thanks to my friend Adam from Adam Does Movies over on YouTube, who allowed me to tag along to this early access screening. I really did appreciate the invite, but did I appreciate the movie? That is what we are here to discuss. So 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple is a sequel to 28 Years Later that just came out last year. Happened to see that also with my buddy Adam that I mentioned earlier, and I was not a fan of it. Honestly, I was really excited for it. I'm a moderate fan of this series. I enjoyed the first 28 Days Later movie, and I thought that 28 Weeks Later was fairly decent. Definitely a different type of movie than the first one, but I enjoyed it for what it was. And now with the second one, Alex Garland is still writing it, but Nia DaCosta is directing it. Nia DaCosta, I have heard she did Candyman. I did not see it, and she did The Marvels, which I did see, unfortunately. So I went a little hesitant, but at the same time, I was like, I want to see what this woman can actually do when she's given creative freedom and doesn't have Kevin Feige and Marvel breathing down her neck. To kick off with some positives, I will say this film looks better visually than the last movie that we got. I know 28 Years Later was getting really ambitious with these creative new iPhone 15 rigs where they were shooting the entire movie on iPhone. To my knowledge, they did not use those same iPhone rigs on this movie, which makes it honestly look a little bit more presentable. I don't know if they just got a different key grip or DaCosta was just like had a better visual style for how this film was supposed to look, but overall I enjoyed how this film looked. It didn't have these, with these crappy zooms that all the pixel density just decreases as it pushes in on a shot. I have here in my notes, not edited like crap, because 28 Years Later was constantly cutting in all this footage of medieval knights that I still, to this day, do not understand what's supposed to represent. And then they would also cut to these shots of zombies in dark red lighting that is super pixelated, like eating deer or whatever, and it was just like, okay, none of that in this movie, thankfully. Performances are pretty solid. I mean, the actors are convincing as the characters they play, which is a miracle considering that Aaron Kellyman is in this movie. The movie feels pretty linear, and I appreciated that. I certainly wasn't bored, but at the same time, I wasn't wowed by this story either. We have two main plots. We have the plot with the doctor, and we have the plot with the Jimmies. The doctor is, of course, played yet again by the great Ralph Fiennes from the first movie, and continues that story from where we left off with him. And honestly, that was the most fascinating part of the main plot. Him just being on his own in the Bone Temple and studying these zombies, and especially just his connection and relationship he has with the Alpha that I believe is the same Alpha from the last movie, if I'm not mistaken. He just has this very scientific mind about the infected and isn't afraid of them in any sense of the word. Most zombie movies, you find out what caused the infection and then how to fight the infected and survive. In this film, he's actually curious about what the infection is doing to a person and how much of them is still left inside, if any. He just has a far more scientific curiosity to him that I really appreciated. And it's in these moments where we get a couple of needle drops that feel a little out of place and sometimes are just very, very bizarre. As much as I did appreciate this part of the film, the tonal inconsistency was running rampant throughout it. There were moments where I was laughing during this movie where I'm pretty sure I wasn't supposed to be, and it was just because of how incredulous I was at what was happening on screen. As for the Jimmy cult plot, it picks up relatively soon after when they first meet Spike, and we go from there. As a result of this, Spike is kind of delegated to a background character in this film, which is a shame because he was essentially the lead in the first film. A lot of the screen time in this plot goes to our main Jimmy, because they're all called Jimmy. This is Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Connell. And he is of the mindset that he can commune with their god, Old Nick. And for the longest time while I was watching this movie, I genuinely didn't know what Old Nick meant. I thought that Old Nick was just some made-up pagan god that they were worshiping, and they were just nuts. Then later on in the film, they outright explain it, that Old Nick is Satan. Had no idea that was actually a thing. I guess I feel stupid because most of these people have an upside down cross carved into their head, and the one guy who doesn't has a necklace of the same symbol. So once I made that connection, I'm like, okay, this is not where I want to be right now. But granted, they're not trying to like glorify it or anything. Everything that they do is clearly portrayed as something that's bad, and Spike is kind of our vessel for understanding that. But like I said, Spike doesn't have a whole lot to do because he's not as much of a focus in this film, and it honestly sucks because there isn't a solid or defined main character in this movie. Like, you look at the credits, Ralph Fiennes is the first name in the credits, okay, but he is not on screen enough to justify being the lead protagonist, considering he is also so separated from the Jimmy plot until they both converge in the third act. He's got his own separate thing, which has nothing to do with this plot, which I would argue, because of how much screen time it takes, is the central plot. I would think that Spike would naturally be the lead of this film, but considering he does so little, you can't really say that. So then I would say, okay, maybe Jimmy Crystal is the lead of this movie, but at the same time, he's more the villain, not the protagonist. So really, you got a movie full of villains without any hero. And like I said before, by the third act, paths cross, so we actually have a fulfillment of both arcs. However, how this wraps up is not really all that spectacular in my opinion. I thought that there was going to be something just a little bit more interesting, and what we got was rather dumbfounding. There's a scene in particular, you'll know it when you see it, and it went on forever. And the whole time I'm sitting there just going, and it was so out there, I don't even know why they needed to do it. As for intense zombie sequences, every now and then you'll get an occasional jump scare where a zombie just runs out of the trees and you weren't expecting it or something like that. That at least was something. It's not very often that that happens, again, because so much of the film is spent on the Jimmy cult and also dedicated to the Doctor and his scientific exploits. Not a lot of the zombie survivalist element of this franchise is present in this film, and that's a big part of what holds me back in it and was sorely missing from this main narrative overall. This is the middle chapter in a trilogy, and very evidently so. And to its credit, it did pay off arcs. It's not just stalling for time or anything like that. But at the same time, what it's exploring is not why I'm watching these movies. As someone who's just not all that interested about the occult or Satan worshippers, I didn't find these characters that enjoyable to spend time with, and would have much rather had a group of people that were surviving in the wilderness while also working with the Doctor. Oh wait, that's the first movie. So basically, if we could have gotten the last movie, but it didn't suck and the Doctor was in it more, that would have been better. Funny enough, the epilogue of the movie is probably the best part of the film. And no, I don't mean there's a post-credit scene or anything, there's not. But much like how there was a little 2 to 3 minute epilogue at the end of the first film that featured the satanic Power Rangers saving Spike, and that was essentially what set up this movie, we have something at the end of Bone Temple that teases the direction of where the third film, whenever it gets made, will inevitably go. And as critical as I have been of these two movies that are out right now, I am far more excited and genuinely anticipating the third film in this trilogy to come out because of what they showed us at the end. So without getting into spoilers, I just think that the third film, based on what we've seen so far, will definitely pay off my hope and anticipation that I had going into the first film and again into this one, and actually giving me, and hopefully the rest of the fans of this franchise, what we wanted. So I'm really hoping that part 3 is a lot better, because even though a lot of people really enjoyed the first film, and we'll see how they react to this one, I am just not a fan of the 28 Years Later trilogy at all, but would be absolutely thrilled to be blown away by the third film whenever it's going to be coming out. But to give this chapter a score out of 10, I'm unfortunately going to have to give it just a 4. Like I said, I just didn't enjoy it all that much, all things considered. This felt like a one and done type of movie for me. I was not all that enamored with what they were doing. They spent a lot of time on stuff that I didn't care about, didn't give enough attention to the stuff that I did care about, and inevitably at the end of the film made me realize, holy crap, that's what I wanted the whole time. Why can't we get more of that? And we'll see in the next couple of years whenever the next movie comes out. So yeah, but I'm not the only person on earth who's seen this movie. Plenty of you have seen it as well, and I would love to know what you have to say down in the comments below. If you're going to disagree with someone over your opinions, though, don't be a jerk and go at each other's throats. It's just a movie, not the most important thing in the world. We can have civil discourse without turning into animals. And if you do disagree with me, I would love to hear what you had to say, so please comment below why you actually really enjoyed this movie, whether you loved it or you just liked it or you thought it was better than what I'm saying. I really enjoy hearing other people's opinions and understanding why someone is attached to something even when I don't like it, because I just find so much enjoyment in understanding other people's perspectives, and it just allows me to reframe how I'm thinking about a movie overall. But if you like this video and you like what I do, you can hit that like button down below, subscribe if you want more videos like this in your feed, and hit the bell so you know when I'm uploading. Not only do I post reviews on this channel, but I also update my movie collection. As you can see, I got a couple, and I'm on my way to 1,000 different titles in my collection as of right now. Be sure to check out the shorts tab of my channel so you can check out all the different movies that I have recently added in my collection. I always always post a new one when I get a new addition to the collection. I also have a review for the first 28 years later that you can check out right here if you'd like. And if you want more content from me that isn't YouTube exclusive, you can check out the links in my description down below. They'll take you to multiple different social media platforms where I post reviews that don't always make it onto this channel for movies, TV shows, and video games. And the ones that do make it onto this channel, I always post on those platforms long before I add together a video. So be sure to check that out. And until next time, guys, God be with you, and take care.